Hi, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Karen White. I'm a psychology teacher here at the college, and I wanted to welcome you to the first day of the Vanier Social Science Festival. It's an annual festival that has existed since the year 2000, so next year, big anniversary, and presents the perspectives of speakers from a number of different social science disciplines. I'm going to ask you to make sure that the ringer on your phone is off so that we aren't hearing when you're getting notifications. And I'd like to ask you also, we'll leave a little time at the end if you've got questions. Please stay here until the questions are over. It's not a super long presentation. You'll get to whatever you need to get to afterwards. I wanted to acknowledge that Vanier College is situated on traditional unceded lands of the Dikeakos Nation. And many Indigenous nations have historical and contemporary ties to this place. I honor and thank the traditional custodians of the land and strive to support Indigenous-led decolonization work and the success of future generations. So I'm going to introduce a couple of people, and the reason I'm introducing them is that they were my students last winter semester in the qualitative research course, and which some of you have taken, some of you are taking, some of you will take. Everybody in social science has to take it. And this was an honors section course, and the research that they're going to be presenting today is the research they did for that class. This was a research project in the class. So it's an honor for me to introduce them with this very cool project. So this is Misha Fernando, and she is a student in social sciences in honors, and she's fascinated by psychology and understanding why people act the way they do. And she found the research projects really help her to dive deep into questions that spark her curiosity and contribute to conversations about some of these topics. And outside the classroom, she likes meeting different people and learning from their diverse experiences and gaining different perspectives. And she loves to make a positive impact through her studies, that is always trying to learn and grow. And I'm also pleased to introduce Eleni Dikeakos. Never that good with the names, but we're good. And she is a second-year student also at Vanier College. She's in the commerce program and in honors. And she's very passionate about English literature and wants to study in that field in the future. And in her free time, she plays football and she loves to read novels. And the research project that they're going to present reflects also her interest in human behavior, exploring how societal norms and perceptions influence how we express ourselves. So, I give you Eleni and Misha.
So, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Misha Fernando, and this is Eleni Dikeakos. We are both honors, social science, and commerce students here at Vanier, and we conducted our research under the guidance of Karen White. Our project is titled, How Does Wearing Different Amounts of Makeup Affect Social Interactions, and was undertaken as part of our qualitative methods class last semester. So the inspiration for our research came from the complicated and often nuanced relationship many individuals, especially women, have with makeup. In modern society, makeup is not just about enhancing one's beauty, it can influence how others perceive us and how we navigate different social environments.
Now, I'd like you to reflect on this yourselves, especially people who wear makeup on a day-to-day basis. Let's say you were preparing for a job interview. You would probably wear a certain amount of makeup that fits the bill for that type of event. And what if you were going on a first date instead? You would be wearing maybe a totally different type of makeup. And that is kind of the basis of our question here today.
You've probably noticed how wearing a little makeup can make you feel more confident, or perhaps how a heavier application can draw different kinds of attention. So this led us to wonder, does the amount of makeup worn change how individuals perceive a person's ability, competence, or attractiveness, and if so, how? So we believe this is an important subject to cover because makeup use is widespread and can have an effect on different social dynamics, from personal relationships to professional environments. So our goal here today is to give you all a better understanding on the societal implications of makeup and the invisible pressures they create.
And at the core of our research lies a very specific question. How does wearing makeup how does wearing different amounts of makeup affect social interactions and perceptions? And we kind of set out for two specific objectives to more effectively approach this idea. The first is to explore how makeup levels impact social experiences. The second is to identify how those experiences differ based on the amount of makeup you're wearing, either no makeup, minimal makeup, or heavy makeup. And here is an illustration of what these types of makeups look like to us. This is kind of the guideline that we decided to follow when we were wearing certain amounts of makeup during our study. The no makeup is really just a bare face, no makeup whatsoever. We even avoided skincare in some cases to make sure that it was really just our bare faces. For light makeup, you can consider it as maybe some concealer, some mascara, maybe a bit of blush, anything that enhances your natural features rather than masking them. And then heavy makeup, it's what it sounds like. It's a very heavy application of makeup with a bunch of layers, maybe some blush, some contour, heavy lashes, which tend to obscure your face a little more than the minimal makeup. And on the basis of this, we decided to seek for previous studies that have been conducted in the same light as ours, and we conducted a literature review for the project. The first study that we took inspiration from was by Cash et al. In 1989, and this one states that makeup increases perceived attractiveness. So it's a pretty general one, and it can be applied in most of our scenarios as well. If you're wearing more makeup, people tend to find you more attractive because it enhances your features in such a way that people perceive you better. And so this really helped us and served as a guide throughout our research. A second article that we based ourselves off of was by Kelly et al. In 2021, where women adjust their makeup for context. So depending on, like I was mentioning earlier, depending on if you're going on a date, to a job interview, if you're going to school, you tend to want to wear a different amount of makeup based on the social context, because you know that different types of people are going to be there. You might encounter, different people and different experiences. And it also depends on one's mood. So let's say you're not really feeling it. You don't want to put yourself out there. You might want to go low profile and wear less makeup. And so it kind of just applies to everyday situations, and again, served as inspiration for us in our research. And finally, we have the Jones and Kramer research done in 2016, which kind of antagonizes the two previous articles and talks about how the effect of makeup is less pronounced on faces that are considered conventionally attractive. So what this means is if your features already fit the beauty standard, you are going to automatically look better by society's norms if you're wearing the same amount of makeup as someone who doesn't fit the beauty standard as much as you do. So this study kind of counters the other ones because it says that your natural features play more importance than the makeup that you are wearing. And so we decided to take this into account, just, put it on the back burner to make sure that we realize that our natural faces also had a play in our research and the results that we saw.
So there are two key concepts that underpin much of the research on makeup and social interactions: self-objectification and social perception. So self-objectification refers to the process by which individuals, especially women, begin to view themselves as objects to be evaluated based on their physical appearance, rather than as whole human beings with inherent worth. This concept is really important because many women may use makeup to conform to societal beauty standards, which, as Kelly et al. Suggests, can shift one's focus from personal qualities and abilities to this whole obsession with external validation. And it's also crucial to note the concept of social perception, which relates to how individuals form impressions of others based on observable cues like makeup. Indeed, makeup can act as a social signal which influences how others perceive someone's competence, attractiveness, or even their personality, which Jones and Kramer showed that these perceptions are not only shaped by the presence of makeup itself, but by how well it is applied and if it complements someone's natural features. So these studies and key concepts gave us the theoretical grounding to not only explore how makeup affects social interactions, but why those dynamics shift depending on the amount of makeup worn.
And our methodology for this research project was a little peculiar because in qualitative research, you don't tend to use a participant observation method. It's more conventional to use something like interviews or content analysis as a groundings for your research, but we decided, with the help of our professor, to do something called participant observation method. And what this consists of is that we observe social interactions in real-world settings without any type of interference. So it's literally as simple as Misha and I walking into a public space with friends or without and noting our interactions with people and how they tend to react to our makeup, depending on the day, depending on the application, and all that. And so this allowed us to gather a lot of really authentic research and unbiased data because those who we were observing had no idea that we were conducting any research on them. So there was no idea that, oh, if I say this, she might note this down in her research. You know, it was really just unbiased reactions to our faces in a day-to-day context. And the researchers managed to be active participants in the environment that are being studied. Like in our case, we got to experience everything firsthand, which allowed for a more thorough understanding of what is at play and how it feels to be treated this way. And it allowed us to truly understand what we were working with here.
So our study was conducted across 3 different social settings: school, work, and casual social environments, also known as your typical hangouts with friends. So these conditions were specifically chosen because they reflect the daily experiences of most young adults where interactions tend to take place. We also divided our makeup application into 3 different conditions, so no makeup, minimal makeup, and heavy makeup.
And our data collection process was pretty specific and it was very tedious. So what we decided to do was we took detailed notes after each interaction that we had. So let's say we had an uncomfortable conversation with a coworker where he mentioned something about our makeup. We decided to note that down right away to try and avoid any inconsistencies and to make sure that our memories didn't come and try to alter those experiences. And we documented behaviors such as body language and feedback. Maybe a certain comment was made that we thought was interesting. Maybe something they did to us was peculiar based on the makeup we were wearing. We decided to make sure to take these into account. And we also filmed short audio recordings of our reactions after these key events. Let's say we step into the freezer on our break at work, we put on our phones and we start recording exactly what happened to us to make sure that, again, there's no faltering in our memories and everything stays intact. And through this, we managed to get a data set of interactions from 3 social environments where we got to analyze the changes in behavior.
So as researchers, we alternated between wearing no makeup, minimal makeup, and heavy makeup, and we observed how people treated us in various settings. So on campus, when we were completely barefaced, we got a lot of mixed reactions. Some of our classmates told us that they liked our natural look, which was really nice to hear, especially as someone that wears makeup every day. It's not something that I was personally used to, so it was a really refreshing experience. However, there were some times when people would ask us if we were tired or if we were feeling sick. And it was just interesting to see how the absence of makeup made people assume that we weren't feeling our best, which ties in with the societal implication that makeup is necessary to look, quote unquote, put together. So moving on to minimal makeup, we noticed how wearing just a bit of makeup in the specific environment was definitely a safe bet. We both got compliments about how it enhanced our natural features without overdoing it. So, for example, one of us had a friend point out that our eye makeup, which consisted of a bit of eyeshadow on our lower lash line, made our eyes popped. So it just goes to show how minimal makeup made us look polished without drawing too much attention, which is why it was so well received in this environment. And it's also important to take note that not a lot of students have the time in the morning to get ready, so it's not uncommon to see minimal makeup as opposed to a heavier application. And finally, with heavy makeup, like bold eyeliner, lashes, and harsh contouring, drew a lot of attention amongst our social circles in class. The compliments we got were more about our makeup skills rather than how we looked. So people would ask things like, oh, how long did it take for you to get so good at eyeliner? So it's almost as if the focus shifted from us as individuals in terms of our physical appearance to the makeup and application process itself.
So our results in the workplace were a bit of a mixed bag, but in terms of the no makeup application, we received quite a bit of negative treatment right across the board. Our managers and coworkers seemed to take us less seriously. They made degrading comments about us being sick or unfit to work, even though that wasn't the case in any of our interactions. One of us was actually reassigned to less visible tasks at work. For example, if I were to be a cashier and the one day that I'm not wearing makeup, my boss comes up to me and say, "Oh, can you actually hide in the back for your 6-hour shift today because, we don't want you out there," basically is what happened to us during the research. But in Misha's case, it was pretty interesting.
Yeah.
And minimal makeup was definitely received a lot better than the no makeup, because I feel like people tend to react better to that amount to begin with. And we received quite a bit of positive feedback. Our coworkers compared us to celebrities even, which was random but consistent throughout our 2 experiences. And customers were friendlier, we felt more confident because people were treating us better, and we just felt more human. There was no debate about our appearances, there were no, nitpicky comments, and we felt normal and integrated in society, if you will. But when we were wearing heavy makeup at work, we received a ton of mixed reactions. The positive could be that customers were patient and respectful, but there was this underlying condescension from the customers. While they were being patient and respectful, it almost seemed like they were belittling us more than usual. Like, "You've got it, sweetie, you're doing your best," even though we're working at the same capacity as we do on any other day. And we also received some negative comments, like objectifying ones from male customers. And obviously that's not pleasant, and that's not how you want to be treated in any circumstance, especially not in a professional environment.
So in our personal lives, interacting with friends and acquaintances also revealed some interesting responses to makeup. So when we showed up to our casual hangouts barefaced, our friends praised us for our confidence and for our natural look. However, there were still some underlying assumptions that we were tired, or maybe we didn't have the time in the morning to get ready, which ties in with the whole idea of making time and putting in the effort to look quote-unquote presentable, no matter the social situation. So as for minimal makeup, well, in casual settings, it was definitely a safe bet. We got compliments again on how it enhanced our natural features without overdoing it, making it a reliable choice in most social situations. And finally, heavy makeup, it definitely led to more divided reactions. So for example, our female friends were definitely all for it. Compliments were flying. We started discussing about our favorite products, makeup artists, and tips and tricks. However, our male friends had a different take, expressing how the makeup was a bit too much and that they preferred a more natural and toned down look. So it was just interesting to see how differences in perception can be influenced by gender, with women valuing the artistry while men preferring a more subtle approach.
So our findings can be resumed in a few short points. Firstly, that makeup as a whole attracts attention and admiration for skill, but can also lead to objectifying comments, similarly to what Misha just described, and can cause self-objectification with a focus on external perceptions. So that means that you can think more critically of yourself based on the way that people perceive you and based on the way that people talk about your makeup. It can really lead to some inner confidence issues, according to Kelly et al. In 2021. And it also reflects some tension between empowerment and objectification, because by playing into these societal standards of makeup and what women are expected to look like, we're feeding into an idea that women should look a certain way and should portray themselves a certain way. And it almost turns into something like feeding into the patriarchy, where we are submitting to this idea of what makes a woman pretty.
So, as you've probably noticed, society places a lot of pressure on women when it comes to wearing makeup. There's this expectation of wearing just the right amount, enough to look polished, healthy, and professional, but not so much that it looks overdone. Women who choose to not wear any makeup may face assumptions that they're tired, sick, not ready for the day, lazy, which can be really frustrating and unfair because it may not be the case. On the other hand, wearing heavy makeup can lead to criticism or even objectification, which creates a really difficult balance for women who feel as though they have to abide to these societal constraints in order to fit in or to feel accepted by their social circles. So ultimately, while makeup is a personal choice, it's often influenced by the societal expectations.
So in conclusion, our conclusion can be resumed very simply. It's that the level of makeup significantly influences the way that people perceive you in all different settings. In our cases, it was work, casual social settings, and school. And it elicited a bunch of mixed reactions, as we previously described. Some appreciated the natural looks, and generally speaking, if we were to recommend something for you to assimilate into society in terms of your makeup, it is to wear minimal makeup, because in nearly every interaction that we had, the minimal makeup drew the least amount of attention, at least negative attention. All we received are positive comments and no questions about our appearance that were unnecessary or rude. So that's the way to go if you're trying to play it safe. And we saw that heavy makeup usually brought a lot of attention, but also challenges, because more comments were received when we were wearing the heavy makeup, and it seems it's unwarranted, but it still does happen. We have to acknowledge that if we do portray ourselves a certain way, this is the attention that we're attracting in our society, and that the no makeup tends to receive comments that are more about your livelihood than anything else, which is also interesting to note.
So there were several limitations in our study. The first one being observer bias. So as both participants and observers, our interpretations of the interactions we had may have led to inconsistencies in the data. There were also differences in perception. So what Eleni and I may consider minimal or heavy makeup may not apply to the next person, as these judgments are inherently subjective. And lastly, our study was limited to 3 specific environments, so school, work, and casual hangouts. So it may not fully capture how makeup is perceived in other social contexts, like formal events or online.
And our recommendations for future research are the following. We think that it would be really interesting to explore makeup perceptions across different cultural contexts, because of course the way that makeup is perceived in a Western country like ours differs greatly from anywhere else in the world. And the conventions and standards for makeup are entirely different no matter where you go. We think it'd be interesting to expand that and see how it compares to different countries, different environments in general. And we also think that it's important to investigate makeup's impact on virtual interactions like social media, live streaming, especially in an age where we have digitized nearly everything, and even school has become a digital environment in some cases. You know, how are you going to perform in a Zoom meeting? Let's say you're in an interview online. Does your makeup play into how you're being perceived despite that you're being portrayed by a screen? We think that it would be interesting to see if it differs at all.
Exactly.
Thank you. Any questions?
Wait, should I keep it to the reference? Oh. It's fine.
Oh, come on.
Oh my God, actually.
Oh, we have a question. Oh my God.
Okay. Hi.
Hi.
Okay. I have 2, kind of 3 questions.
Yeah.
Okay, so you said that, perceptions might differ between like different people on what you think is minimal or heavy. Did you guys have like an agreement between yourselves on were the looks the same every time, or did they change? And did you discuss that with each other before doing your makeup?
Yeah, we did discuss the amount of makeup that we were going to wear, because we knew that if we were to maybe alter our makeup looks, it would lead to inconsistencies, so we definitely took that into account.
Yeah, we kind of tried to set a standard between the both of us. Like, we came to a consensus on what we considered no makeup, minimal makeup, and heavy makeup. Mm-hmm. Kind of like the pictures that we showed before, we tried to base ourselves off of that as much as possible. Yeah. And we would check in with each other, ensure that our makeup looked the same whenever we were performing our experiments, and made sure that there was at least that consistency.
Exactly.
And thank you. And then, Did you both wear makeup on a daily basis before? And do you think that influenced it at all? Like maybe people weren't used to seeing you without makeup or with a different kind of makeup, you know?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I definitely think it had an influence. In my case, I tend to wear like maybe a minimal amount of makeup every day, like at least some mascara, some concealer. So when I was wearing heavier makeup, I definitely noted a difference. Even my parents were a little surprised at the makeup I was wearing, being like, oh, you look different, you know, because it's not really in accordance with how they perceive me beforehand. And yeah, definitely the amount of makeup that we wore before this study and during the study totally had a difference. I know that you at work specifically, it was noticed when you were wearing no makeup.
It was really, I'd say it was really different for me to not wear any makeup because I always make time for it. And it was really just interesting to see how people reacted to our makeup application. So yeah, as much as it was a bit uncomfortable, it was really an insightful experience. So it was really great.
Thank you.
Hi, I have a question. Did you get any comments that ladies your age should not wear makeup? Was there any age-specific comments?
I don't believe we got any age-specific comments, at least not that I remember. But I'm sure that does play a factor into how we were interacted with at work, especially when we were wearing heavy makeup. I find that the older clients were almost like scrutinizing us a little bit or maybe judging us, thinking that we were flaunting something. So I definitely think that age would be something to consider in all this. That's a really interesting point, yeah. But we didn't get any specific comments about our age. Thank you.
Did you guys only like wear no makeup for one day or for like a week or for like how long did you not wear makeup or wear a lot of makeup for? Like what was your timeline?
We chose specific days to wear no makeup, minimal makeup, and heavy makeup. We didn't necessarily wear the minimal makeup for a week's time because we didn't have enough, time to conduct our study. We just had, I think 2 weeks. So we really had to space it out in 2 days.
Yeah, like we selected a few days, each of us, right, during the week, and we said that on this day we would wear no makeup, heavy, or minimal. And I think in total it might have been 3 or 4 days where we were experimenting with no makeup specifically. So it kind of, that's how we approached it.
And one last question. Do you think that it's a problem, the way that people are perceiving women with makeup? And like, do you think that it should be regulated? Like, do you think it's a problem or do you not think that it's something that needs to be fixed?
I feel like it's definitely a problem because some people tend to, try to evaluate someone's worth based on how they go about with their appearance. So I'd say that's definitely a problem in our society, and maybe we should be more open-minded to how people present themselves. So,
But I also think there's been a shift in recent times where we're kind of reclaiming the idea of makeup, not just for women, but for anybody. And it's become a method of expression more than anything else. And while the larger part of society still likes to criticize makeup, especially when it comes to women, I think we're going into a new age where makeup is being celebrated differently and isn't being used as a device to control women as much. It still is a problem, but I do think there's hope. Thank you.
Other questions?
All right, so that was an insightful presentation, first of all. And my question, is that too loud? Okay, sorry. So my question is, did you guys see a difference between how women perceive makeup and men perceive makeup? Like, is there a difference between mentality, what both of them try to find from people wearing makeup?
Yeah, so when so the reactions we got from women were, I'd say, really like uplifting in a way. Like they wouldn't judge as much. We had a lot of compliments. But as for men, I feel like, especially with those that we interacted with, it's not really like all men, but they were a bit more judgmental in a way. Like, oh, why are you wearing so much makeup? Who are you trying to impress? So that's the experiences that we encountered.
Hello. Okay. Now you guys personally, after doing this survey or this test, I guess, do you guys perceive makeup different personally? Like, do you guys maybe before on a date you'd use minimal, but now you use more, or vice versa?
It altered my approach in wearing makeup every day. I think I think about it a lot more than I used to. I think makeup used to be something casual for me that I just wore on a daily basis without thinking much, but now I take into consideration the implications of wearing a certain amount of makeup. I don't know if I wear less or more necessarily, but I definitely do think about the consequences of wearing a certain amount of makeup more than I used to. It's been eye-opening.
I mean, yeah, same for me. I feel like I used to wear more minimal makeup, but after the study, I just wear more makeup. It just made me feel more self-aware, and especially the experiences that I had at work, it didn't really, I didn't really feel good. So yeah, I just wear more makeup now because of this experience.